Good morning, Keith. It is great to be here. And I tell you, we're in the home stretch together. Christmas is just around the corner. And I know everyone's saying, okay, give me a meditation or two that can just get me across the finish line. Just get me ready for Christmas Day. And, many of you took to heart the challenge last week. I shared with you Archbishop Sheen's question, are we innkeepers? And many of you responded beautifully. You have been preparing your hearts. You're saying yes to the poor. You're saying yes to welcoming, again, strangers and sometimes friends. But it's that busy world we live in, just like the busy time in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. But yet, I think we're answering in the affirmative. Yes, we want to be good innkeepers, to receive the Lord, to receive the Holy Family. And so this week's meditations will be on littleness and the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, we all are called to become little. We read the scriptures, become like children. And again, isn't Christmas about children? We hear that all the time, but it's about becoming little. And so let me share with you what Archbishop Sheen wrote a number of years ago about the infinity of littleness. Sheen writes, "How can souls find God? It is a psychological fact that it is only by being little do we ever discover anything big. This law raised to the spiritual level tells us how we can find the immense God, namely by having the spirit of little children. In the physical order, have you ever noticed that a child thinks that everything seems big? His father's bigger than any other man in the world, and his uncle who is standing near the window is taller than the great oak tree down in the valley. Every child loves the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, because to him, every beanstalk towers to the sky. As a matter of fact, beanstalks do not scrape the stars, but to a little child they do, because a child is so small that in relationship to himself, everything is big, even the beanstalk. It is only when the child grows big that the beanstalk becomes small. It is only when, by being little, we ever discover how big it is." There is a close relation between physical littleness, which is childhood, and mental littleness, which is humility. We cannot always be children, but we can always have the vision of children, which is another way of saying we can be humble. In the spiritual order, the law remains the same. If man is ever to discover anything big, he must always be making himself little. If he magnifies his ego to the infinite, he will discover nothing, because there is nothing bigger than the infinite. But if he reduces his ego to zero, then he will discover everything big, for there is nothing smaller than himself. How then can man discover God at Christmas time? By making himself little. He will discover that something big. By being humble, he will find the infinite God in the form of a child. How beautiful that is. Again, the idea that we are to become little. I mean, we live in a world where everything is big, We want to be big. We want to have big projects, be involved with the big event, But yet, the best things in life sometimes are the little things. And so this will be the challenge this week, to become little, to become quiet, and to wait on the Lord. But Fulton Sheen would say to us time and time again, the mother is the key. We need the Blessed Virgin Mary, and we need to continue to learn from her. And so let me share his thoughts here. Archbishop Sheen writes, "Our Lord had only a foster father, but he had a real mother. It was she who gave to him his human life, gave him hands with which to bless children, feet with which to go in search of stray sheep, eyes with which to weep over dead friends and a corrupt civilization, and a body with which he might suffer. It was through this mother that he became the bridge between the divine and the human. If we take her away, then either God does not become man, or he that is born of her is a man and not God. Without her, we would no longer have our Lord. If we have a box in which we keep our money, we know the one thing we must always give attention to is the key. We never think that the key is the money, but we know that without the key, we cannot get into the money. The mother of the babe is like that key. Without her, we cannot get to our Lord because he came through her. She is not to be compared to our Lord, for she is a creature and he is the creator. But without her, we could not understand how the bridge was built between heaven and earth. As she formed Jesus in her body, so she forms Jesus in our souls. In this one woman, virginity and motherhood are united, as if God willed to show that both are necessary for the world. Those things which are separated in other creatures are united in her. The mother is the protector of the virgin, and the virgin is also the inspiration of motherhood. You know, Fulton Sheen was saying to those who would listen, go to Mary. You know, if you could choose your own mother like he did, again, how beautiful she is, how perfect she is as a mother. And you know, at Christmas time, the mother resembles the child. Now, we may be thinking, what do you mean by that? But when you listen to Archbishop Sheen's wisdom, you'll understand the saying, the mother resembles the child. Archbishop Sheen writes, whenever a child is born into the world, relatives speculate whether or not it resembles the father or the mother. Christmas was the first instance in history that anyone could say that the resemblance was only on the mother's side. But it is perhaps truer to say that it was not the child who resembled the mother, but the mother who resembled the child. For this is the child who made his mother. He pre-existed her. She was created by him. Therefore it was she who was the child. When the great painter Whistler was praised for the beautiful painting of his mother, he said, well, you know how it is. One tries to make one's mother as nice as one can. Since Christ pre-existed her, he made her beautiful as only God knows how to make a woman beautiful. There was a further paradox in Christmas too. Mothers often tell their children when pointing to the sky, heaven is way up there. But when Mary held the child in her arms, it is true to say that she looked down to heaven. My dear friends, in a few days we will celebrate the great mystery of the Lord coming to the earth where we can then look upon him. And I've been encouraging everyone to get an image of the Holy Child and put it somewhere in your home and to enjoy a little bit of time each day with the infant child. This is a holy habit that good Saint Therese of the Child Jesus and the Holy Face undertook many times throughout the year. She would spend hours just meditating on the Christ child, falling in love with the Lord by looking upon him as a babe. And so may our love for the Lord increase during this holy season of Christmas and Advent as we continue to practice for heaven, practice looking upon the Lord. And of course, the Christ child is so approachable. Again, during the Lenten season, when we see our Lord disfigured and battered, It is hard. It is hard to approach. But at this time, it's easy to approach. And please don't be afraid that when you reach out your hand to the Christ child, he may grab your finger and he may pull you in closer to him because he wants to get our attention. He wants our time and he'll give us his eternity. That'll be one of the Christmas gifts that we can thank him for. We get to give him our time and he gives us his eternity. We give him our humanity and he will give us his divinity. We can give to him our nothingness and he will give us his all. And so, my dear friends, this week, let us become little, let us look to the mother, and let us continue to wish each and every one of our friends and families and benefactors a very Merry Christmas. God love you.